Hi, this is Lee Jasper Drive Time. Welcome to this week's show, and it's a really exciting show. This week we're going to be interviewing Serena Nalty-Coombs. You don't know who she is. Like most black women who are superb and effective at that job, you'll have never heard of her. We'll be shining a bright spotlight on her for this program. We'll also be talking out there to the people on the streets of Brixton and Lambeth about the England and Bulgaria game. I'm appalled at what I saw during that match. And you may remember a previous video I did about a young man called Leon Kofi, and he was battered by fascists horribly in Bulgaria. So with the nature of this country, we'll be asking Brixtonites what they think about racism in football. And finally, there is Brixton Analytica, our little news segment bringing you Lee Jasper's unique perspective on news from all over the world. My name's Lee Jasper. This is Market House, Brixton. If you don't know this venue, it's one of the coolest venues in the borough. So make sure you come along and do check it out. Next up, Lee Jasper Drive Time. Hi, my name's Lee Jasper. This is Brixton, London, and you're watching Lee Jasper Drive Time. Next, I'm going to introduce you to a black woman you've never heard of. And like most effective and great black women, nobody's ever heard of them. They're doing such great work in the community without recognition. Well, we're going to fix all that today as I interview Serena Nalty-Coombs. Who is she? She's a mom-entrepreneur, she's an activist, she's a volunteer. We're going to see exactly what motivates her, her passion and her commitment to her community. Welcome to Lee Jasper Drive Time. Serena Nalty-Coombs, activist, social entrepreneur, volunteer, organiser of communities and peoples here in Lambeth and Brixton. Welcome to Lee Jasper's Drive Time.
Thank you for having me.
Today, Serena, we're talking about all of the kind of things that you're involved in, and Lord knows there's lots of challenges in our communities. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I'm a project management consultant. I run my own company, SN Management, and I help business owners, entrepreneurs to achieve their lifestyle, personal and business goals. But I also work with organisations to help support, move their organisations forward, really.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been doing that work?
So about 10 years now, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do you find most satisfying, enjoying or frustrating about it?
I like seeing people progress. Mm-hmm. So I'm quite happy to be in the background and help people move forward, and just like to see the outcomes that they've, you know, if it's a project you've put together, that you see it come to fruition. You know, if it's a person you're helping to build it confidence and, you know, move through their career, then, you know, the outcome, seeing the outcomes for me is always like my, you know, that's my winning thing. I don't know. What
your ambition, your goal.
I love it.
And what's your ambition? If your ambition is to see everybody else succeed, well, who is Serena and what is her ambition?
You know, I try and think about this all the time, but I never really come to a conclusive answer. It's not that I don't have ambition. I think I do things in stages. So, you know, this year it might be seeing X projects off the ground, working with X number of people, moving my not-for-profit forward. That might be it for this year, and then next year I'll move on to the next one. I'm not a person that kind of thinks too far ahead. So yes, so it's not that I don't have ambition. I do have plenty, but yeah, I just do things in increments.
Small steps.
Yeah.
Okay. And in relation to some of the challenges facing our community on the issues that you work in, what do you see as the state of our community and some of the key challenges it faces?
Well, obviously there's a lot of youth crime. That's a concern. But helping young people is always at the heart of anything that I do. So 3 of the charities I work with are around, you know, empowering young people. that's a big passion for me. It's not even kind of, it is a passion for me.
Did you say it's a vocation?
Yeah, definitely.
You were born to do it?
Yeah, because I was a dance teacher before. I taught children's dance classes. I've always, had other people's children in my home and looked after them. I've propelled my own children. I've got a daughter who's an entrepreneur. So I've just, young people are, if you can remember what being a young person was like, and then push that by times 10, because it's that many years ago, that these young people are experiencing all different types of issues and just need support transitioning through life.
Because they live in a 24/7 world, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I went to school, if you got bullied, well, that was between 9 and 3 usually. And if you could sneak out and get home, that was fine.
Yeah.
But once you got home, you always had respite. Seems to me with young people, the kind of pressures that they face, that social media means they never quite escape that stress and pressure.
No, you're never away from anything, and unless there's parents or elders encouraging them to put down their phones or switch off, then they're just in that realm all the time. And we've got like a celebrity status now. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to look good or feel like they're more than, and that's not helping.
Right. And in relation to the challenges we face, what about black women in that? What do you see as the challenges specifically around young women, young girls and women?
That feeling of you're not enough. You've always got to be more than. You can't be yourself. A lot of and it's not just women, it's happening with the young men as well, that they're trying to be present themselves as one thing and not being true to themselves.
Authentic.
So not authentic at all. Like you ask them what do they like, they're not sure. They're going to look at their friend first and see if that's all right to say. So they're not, it takes a while to pull them out of that, mindset.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's happening a lot. And even with adults, it's the same thing, because what's going on in the world and everybody's on social media and you've got to look good. And that's why I've kind of tried to keep away from that kind of thing. But you do need to let people know what you're doing, because if nobody knows what you're doing, they can't support you in it and you can't support them.
I think particularly with peer pressure and teenage groups, the herd mentality, as you see it demonstrated on social media, is incredibly dangerous. If not approached with great caution. What would your advice be to mums who are struggling with children and on social media and so on and so forth? What would your advice be to them?
To know that they're not alone and there's nothing wrong with reaching out. A lot of people like to pretend they don't have problems. We all have problems. None of us are perfect. So it's important to reach out. For me, growing my children, I always thought, is there someone that can teach them that a little bit better than me? We're not 100% everything. We can't be 100% everything to our children. And at that time I was a single parent growing 2 children, a boy and a girl, and I just thought, if I can reach out to another person and they can talk to one about this, or take one for work experience or whatever it was, you mustn't don't try and do that in isolation, because regardless of what you think you're doing, your children are seeking advice in other places anyway. So you've got to know where to tap into what you need. You can't just do this on your own. Like they always say, it takes a village to raise a child, and there's nothing wrong with, sharing your needs with another person.
Yeah, it's not a sign of weakness.
No, it's not.
Sign of strength.
Definitely.
So great advice there for parents. In relation to some of the work that you're doing with organisations seeking to support communities and families, tell us a little bit about those.
So I work with Code 7. I'm the strategic manager for Code 7. At the moment we've just launched a project called Lambeth Schools Patrol, which is a youth support service that will patrol central Brixton initially, and just offering befriending, advice, signposting for young people, parents and the community. And that was in answer to the issues around after-school violence, which a couple of years ago we had 3 incidents happen around the same time, Kennington, Brixton and Stockwell, and the community called for everybody to try and do something. So Code 7 kind of led on that and held community meetings and consulted with the community for 2 years, and Lambeth Schools Patrol was launched.
And in relation to Lambeth School Patrol, sounds like an excellent project. How is it funded?
So at the moment we're sponsored by Brixton Bid. They have sponsored the initial training of 8 volunteers and supported with marketing and, you know, some of the resources. We now are going into kind of phase 2. Other than that, most of the work has been done voluntary, so we do it outside of our core hours. But it was the community and us as an organisation felt that it was that important that we just made sure that it happened, really. So we really do need funds for it. However, we want to be strategic about where that comes from, because it is a community-led initiative.
So wanting to retain control, wanting to encourage self-financing economy.
Absolutely.
A project where the community has put in some effort and the businesses have met them halfway, and you get a great project as a result.
Yeah.
Patrolling Lambeth streets after school, 3 to 6.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more information? I think we'll put that on the screen so that people can see it. So Lambeth School Patrol, it sounds like a great project. Is there anything else you're involved in?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier I run a not-for-profit, which I co-founded with 2 of my colleagues, Marcia Brock and Natalie Tomlinson. We run 2 events a year around International Men's Day and International Women's Day, All Girls Rock and All Boys Rock. So All Boys Rock is coming up in November. If you hit us up on our social media, you'll see all the dates and information. But what that was built for was to offer a platform for organisations to come along and let the community know what they were doing. It's very much an intergenerational project where we encourage conversations between elders and young people.
Because that's very important, right? Because the gap between young people and even people in their mid-20s and 30s, much less people of my age group in their 60s. Yeah. But that is very important to maintain the dialogue and connection.
Yeah, so that's like one of the key things that we do, encouraging families to do things together. So although they focus around issues to do with women and girls, men and boys, we encourage the whole family to come along and engage in activities and conversations. We have a youth forum. The youth forum, they help develop a documentary. That documentary is in the opening conversation to our panel discussion. We'll have celebrities, community leaders, young people on the panel. They all feed in there and give their opinions on things. You know, everybody gets involved. The audience are, you know, join in and have conversations. So that's like one of the highlights of our events. But we also give a platform for anyone, individuals, community organisations, young people, anyone who's interested in, you know, showcasing what they do in the community. We focus on positive role models and positive activities. So that's what that's about.
And is that the totality of your voluntary work or professional work, vocational work?
I do so much stuff. It's hard to say. I do work for the Pueblito Foundation, an organisation who offer leadership programs to black and ethnic minority young people. A lot of those young people go on to work in quite high-profile jobs in the corporate, or they're entrepreneurs. We've had quite a few running multi-million-pound businesses. So I'm the executive assistant and projects coordinator for the Pueblito Foundation, which is headed up by Sir Kenneth Elisa, who is the Lord Lieutenant to the Queen.
Wow. Yeah. Very highfalutin circles, if I may say so. Giving my best. I'm the queen when you see her. So here you are in Brixton, mother, supporting your family, even your children are in business. You're working voluntary on very many community projects. You're involved in terms of your day job, vocationally, with all sorts of organisation. What does Serena do to relax? and does she have any time?
Well,
because I'm tired and I'm only listening.
Well, I'm very clear. Friday nights are like my downtime.
All right,
so
okay.
On a Friday, I mean, I will still. I can't. Sometimes I just can't help working. It's just what I do. So. But on a Friday night, I'm usually, I get the front room to myself and I do whatever I want to do. Might watch a bit of scandalous TV.
Wine and movies.
Yeah, a bit of chocolate.
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, or I'll go to the spa. I also run a women's retreat, so a mumpreneurs retreat. So that's coming up in November. So mumpreneurs retreat. So
business women.
Mums in business.
Right.
So that'll be nice. I'll get free days away, but even though I'm doing things for them, it just gives me so much pleasure to be able to give a space to them where they can be without their children and families and focus on themselves and their business. And even though it's a bit of work, it's pleasurable work, and when they get the afternoon to themselves, I also get a bit of time to myself, so that's nice.
Well, when you enjoy what you do, it's not really work, is it?
No, I really do. I don't see it as too much work. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Yeah. But it's a nice feeling to be able to do what I do, and so I don't think I could do anything else now.
Well, it's been a nice opportunity to interview Serena Nalty-Coombs, and we look forward to hearing very much more about your work with the successes of the projects and involvement you're involved in. Yeah. And we congratulate you and applaud you on your community efforts and your professional commitment to our community. But Serena Nalty-Coombs.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on Lee Jasper Drive Time.
Thank you for having me.
An amazing woman, an amazing person. What can I tell you? Serena Nalty-Coombs. What isn't she doing, and where does she find the time to do it? Next, coming right up, is our Vox Pop interviews, all about the racism in Bulgaria and the England football match. So stick with us.
Assisting again. I think just picked Barkley. It was good to see Barkley in the box off the ball, making that run into the box. Simple thing to put in the back of the net, but you have to make the run and time it well. He's done that.
Now this is interesting because we have had one or two reports in the last few minutes of the sound of some booing when Raheem Sterling has been in possession of that by his assistant Mario. It would be a departure. England were party to requesting the discussion going on. You can see that the Bulgarian football people don't want this any more than the England players do.
I think it's ridiculous. I think racism is old. It's old news, and people still going on with it. It's just stupid, you know.
I watched the second half of the game and I saw all the comments after the game itself. Yeah,
it's got to stop. There's too many different groups of different people that are playing in sports that it can't be to start racist comments from people. It's just deplorable.
I'm really shocked. I didn't realise that's kind of happened.
Okay.
Yeah, in football.
I think it's been a problem in football for a while, isn't it? A long time.
Absolutely.
But I think it's more than a problem in football, it's a problem in society.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, racism's everywhere, but...
Yeah. My response was, Bulgaria probably has a percentage in terms of black people of 0.0001%. And in the scheme of things, England is shifting the onus onto an Eastern European country for the racism that has existed in this country for centuries and for generations. And as a consequence to me, it feels like shame upon England for not taking responsibility about what's happening in this country and looking about what's happening in other countries. When there's at least 2 or 3 million black people in this country that have suffered the same racial experience on a regular basis.
It's a bad dream. You wake up and it's Groundhog Day every day.
They should carry on to do more, whatever it takes, because, you know, there shouldn't be no room or no safe for it at all.
That's what things are like in the eastern bloc, I think, in those countries. Bulgaria, there's a lot of racism.
Yeah.
And far right.
I heard about it on the news, and
What was your response?
I think it's pretty shocking. I don't know much about football and racism, like the history of it.
Yeah.
I was speaking to my partner about it, but I think it's shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking.
In some terms, slowly, if they're taking more action, but they've just got to carry on, and other countries got to do that as well, you know? So, yeah, we seem to carry on. That's what I can say.
Throughout my entire life, I've known nothing but racism. So why is it different now? Because it's a different country. I'm concerned. Shame on England.
Welcome to Brixton Analytica on the Lee Jasper Drive Time show. We've got an exclusive story here from you today. You may remember earlier this year when we published a video that went viral of a 17-year-old boy who is handcuffed, who is being bullwhipped by a Metropolitan Police officer, PC Rowley. And that video shook the world, was on all the news items. And in fact, we did on Lee Jasper Drive Time an interview with his mother, who was shrouded in anonymity in order to protect the safety of her sons. Well, the good news is PC Rowley is to be charged with assault, and that charge has been agreed by the Crown Prosecution Service. Hooray, I hear you say, and you may well cheer, because it's so rare that we get the opportunity to effectively prosecute a police officer for assault. So we'll be looking on with interest on this case, and I'm sure you're going to stick with Lee Jasper Drive Time to keep tabs on this particular story. And now for our second story. Well, first of all, big shout out to Pueblito Paisa, the Latin American village over in North London, standing against the gentrification of London by trying to retain the golden egg that gave rise to London's success as an economic global capital. That's diversity. Solidarity with you guys fighting against gentrification in London. Latin American market down there providing entrepreneurial and employment opportunities for the local community that is about to be crushed by Haringey Council in order that they can gentrify it and build multi-million-pound flats that nobody in London can really afford. So we say solidarity to our Latin American community friends over there in North London. We stand by you as we did when they tried to remove everybody from Elephant and Castle, and we hope to have somebody come along and get an interview with them shortly. But I'm sure you, like me, will want to stretch out your hand in solidarity to the Latin American community, save the Latin American village, say no to the wanton gentrification of London, whether it's Brixton, whether it's Tottenham, whether it's Peckham, whether it's Croydon. We're seeing our communities moved out and millionaire communities moved in. So we say solidarity. And finally on this week's show, you may remember that we covered last week the story of Botham Jean, and he was shot in his own home by off-duty police officer Anne MacGyver, tragically lost his life. Less than a week after that tragic shooting, we're back here again with the murder of Atasia Jefferson.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
The tragic outcome of this welfare check was that Atasia Jefferson was shot dead in her own home. How the hell can a welfare check go from zero to murder of a black woman in such a short period of time? Well, we all know what happened to Sarah Bland and others. So I think that we're going to be following this case to see the outcome. This police officer, this Florida police officer, whose name is Aaron Dean, has been charged with murder, thankfully, but has been allowed to resign in his job. I just ask you, who the hell gets charged for murder and is allowed to resign from their job? Okay, so we've come to the end of this week's show, and I want you to definitely hit the subscribe button, press like. Look, we're doing this channel in order to bring you this undercover news, this excellent exclusive news here on Lee Jasper Drive Time. So please subscribe, please press the bell for further notifications. But also give me some comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What do you think about our interviews this week? Any suggestions for the show going forward? How about the Latin American village over there in North London? What are our views on the gentrification of London? You've been watching Lee Jasper Drive Time, filmed here at Market House, Brixton, one of the coolest venues, bars, restaurants, a place where you can eat, drink and dance on the tables on Cold Harbour Lane, Brixton. See you next week. Bye.